Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Friday Fire. I'm your host, Reggie Holmes with Enthuse Creative. Excited to be with you today and to bring on our very special guest, Tiffany Wiggins, PhD. Tiff, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Reggie?
I'm doing great. So, full disclosure, Tiffany and I are friends. It's probably been about 15 years since we
Yes,
met at Christopher Newport University. And you've definitely done a lot of things in your professional career since then. Um, and one of them is starting your business this year. So, tell everybody about Noir Coaching and Consulting and how you got on the path to doing what you're doing now.
absolutely. And now that I do the math, I think it's closer to 20 years, but we'll keep that to ourselves. But yeah, so earlier this year, I started a company called Noir Coaching and Consulting, which is a life coaching and consulting business. Excuse me, that came out of earlier this year, prior to starting the business, I went through life coach training. So through my professional journey, I never wanted to be a counselor. I thought I did, but when I kind of started taking some classes, I recognized that I didn't want to do that wholly, solely professionally. But I was always in the helping profession. I've always been helping people, primarily college students, and then of course that leads into young adulthood. And so I knew that I wanted to help folks. I just couldn't quite figure out the best way to do that in my current space. And through some of my own self-reflection and talking with folks, I came across life coaching, and I found a certified training for it. And I took that earlier this year. And once I was in it, I was like, this is perfect. This allows me to work with people in the way that works best for me. I can specialize in it and work with the community that I choose to. And yeah, it just was a really great fit. So as after that, I decided to go ahead and start my own practice, to allow me to kind of feed myself in all those different ways.
Great. Now, did you work with a life coach prior to deciding that you wanted to become one? How did you sort of get put on the path to doing that particular thing? And then I know a little bit about your professional background, so maybe talk about how they all, sort of tied into getting to this place where now you're a life coach yourself.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my professional background is in higher education and student affairs administration. So through that career, which was about 13 years, working in excuse me, different capacities, different universities, different student populations, and really with students all throughout the enrollment cycle. So from high school students, entering college, all the way through those who had graduated and going into grad school and to the workforce, et cetera. So it was funny because when I was doing that work, students would come in my office and hang out and ask these questions that really was more so about their life than it was about their career in college, right? So, or their academics. And I would always joke and like, I'm just a college student life coach, and that kind of stuck with me because even after I would leave a university, I would still stay in communication with some of these students, and they would still call on me, Dr. Wiggins, I got this job offer and I don't know what to do, or I'm applying for this job, or should I move to another state and pursue, XYZ. So
Mhm.
that's kind of really how it kind of came about. And then, professionally, because I'd worked in higher education for so long, and mentorship became a really big part of kind of my just professional identity.
Mhm.
So folks started to kind of call on me or reach out to me to say, hey, can you talk to me about advancing in this career path? Or what are some opportunities that are adjacent to this career path? And so through that is really where I was like, okay, there's something here and I don't quite know what it is just yet. Um, so I've never myself worked with a life coach. I've worked with a therapist and a counselor, and through that work, recognized that there was something called coaching,
Mhm.
that kind of is, adjacent to work in that capacity.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, so that was kind of how I first learned about it. And then one of my professional um, opportunities working in higher education was actually to start up a success coaching office at a university. So kind of bringing that practice into the higher education space for students.
Mhm.
So through that is really where I kind of learned about coaching overall, and the benefits that it has for folks. I think for me personally, in terms of deciding to move in that direction, um, I don't know. It was just really this kind of opportunity to kind of bring all those pieces together. Like I said, I was kind of being kind of pulled on or reached out to in a lot of different capacities. But once I think I was like I listened to a lot of podcasts. So I was like listening to a podcast. It might have been on social media of someone out of one of the podcast hosts, but this idea of being a coach came up, and I was like, huh, that might be a good place to kind of bring all these things together.
Yeah,
And that's kind of so I started like doing research. Naturally, I'm a researcher, so I can, if I find an interest in something, I'm going to kind of do the research and find out
sure.
all the things to get there. So I did, and that's kind of where I landed is with deciding to go ahead and become a life coach and do the trainings to ultimately get certified and, ultimately led to my business.
Great, great. So I was thinking people sometimes, use mentoring and coaching a little bit interchangeably, but I know that there's a difference. So maybe at a high level, just sort of tell people what's the biggest difference between mentoring and coaching, knowing that there's some overlap, but there's definitely a difference. So what is that difference?
Yeah. So with mentoring, it's more so getting you toward a certain goal. So usually you'll have a mentor who's going to help guide you in a specific area of your life. So it could be
Right.
as it relates to your career path, it could be as it relates to parenting, a specific skill that you're trying to develop. So that's usually kind of when you're thinking about mentoring in that way. That's where it is they're using their own personal experience to provide guidance and support to
Mhm.
you along your own developmental path. Whereas coaching, it is not, the coach themselves has nothing to do with what it is that you're trying to do. The goal is to move you from where you currently are to, into a forward direction, regardless of what aspect of life, that could be in.
Right.
So, I think specifically during the pandemic, you've heard a lot of coaches kind of coming coming up,
Sure.
and lots of coaches, they deal with different things. Some of them are around finances, some of them are around fitness, or like me, a general life coach. But whatever that person is coming to the coach about, the goal is to get them from where they currently are to making some forward progress in whatever might be. I won't call it an issue, but whatever they may be dealing with at the time
Mhm.
is to kind of move them forward where they may be stuck currently.
Excellent. Thanks for that explanation. So I do branding, and a big part of branding is differentiation. And I know that you have differentiated yourself in a couple of different ways. One being the audience that you focus on. So you could talk a little bit about your target audience, and then just sort of describe your brand, like what makes you different as far
Yeah.
as what you do with Nora Coaching.
Yeah, that was really important to me. And even in my own finding my own identity as a coach, as I mentioned, there are so many coaches out there, and there's so
Mhm.
many different kind of niches that people can choose to be a coach around, even if they consider themselves a general life coach. So for me, even prior to creating Noir Coaching and Consulting, I have another platform called Black Girl Mentor, where the focus is on mentorship for Black women and girls. So I kind of already had that attached, to me that
Mhm.
people recognize me in that space. And when it came to life coaching, I did think about making it very specific just to Black women. However, because of some other interests or involvements that I have, particularly in the Black parenting community, I recognize that Black men also need that resource and that support in that way. So, Noir Coaching and Consulting, if you go to the website, you'll see that it is very Black. So, all of the pictures on there are folks in the Black community, and the focus really is on making sure that I'm working with those individuals, that they know that this is a resource that understands our unique perspectives and experiences. So, not to say that I won't coach anyone outside of the Black community, but my focus really is more so on ensuring that our people really are have that resource and are taken care of in that way and have understanding, because to I think reach out to seek support in that way is already a challenge. And if folks do that and they don't feel like they are being recognized or represented by their
Mhm.
service provider in that way, that can also either they can decide not to come back or just feel like it wasn't the best experience. So I would just want it to be very clear in my marketing, in my branding, that this is for you. I am here for you. I understand
Mhm.
where you're coming from, and I'll provide a safe space for those who identify as such.
Excellent. Yeah, I concur with you that it's needed. I think we've seen more of an outcry for that, as the pandemic and its effects have sort of gone on for an extended period of time. So it's definitely needed, and I'm glad that you are in the space and providing that access. If you um, if you knew better, you would do better, is what people say. And so, I appreciate you being out there, letting people know what is available, um, and that things don't have to sort of be the way they've always been. There are resources like what you're doing that's out there. So, thank you for stepping into that space.
Yes.
Um, and you've done a lot of things in your career, but you're new to this entrepreneurship thing in terms of starting your own business, your own practice. Uh, Obviously, you've probably learned a lot along the way, but what would you say is the biggest lesson or one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, and something that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, honestly, learning every day. So I don't
Mhm.
think that you ever know everything as you're on the entrepreneurial path. But I would say probably my biggest lesson learned so far is that um, consistency
Mhm.
is necessary in order to have career growth and success.
Yeah,
And I say that around the idea, kind of speaking to your world is in the marketing and
sure.
the branding arena. Yes, I do coaching, but I also, as you mentioned, I kind of have my hands on a few other different things.
Mhm.
And I think to stay consistent and stay connected with your clients and your community, you have to be consistent, making sure that you're posting, that they see you, that they hear from you, and kind of staying on top of what's happening in the world so that folks know that you didn't just kind of fall off. I think
Right.
you'll always have your kind of diehard clients or fans who'll be there and ride with you. But in order to, like I said, if you want growth and you want success, that consistency is key. So
Yeah.
that's major.
Definitely. So, before we let you get out of here, I know that you mentioned your Black parenting group. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that. As a soon-to-be Black parent myself,
Yes.
I definitely think that is pretty cool. And then what's some parenting advice for a soon-to-be parent out there? You could
Yeah.
give me just friend to friend.
Of course, of course. So I am a parent. I'm the mother. I say I'm a single co-parent because I don't know. I don't think the single parent term is a fair term. I have a really great co-parenting relationship with my daughter's father. So my daughter is 10. And yeah, so about a year ago, a colleague or a friend of mine started this group called Black People Parenting. It started out as a Facebook group
Mhm.
and has grown to over 5,000 members. Soon after he created the group, asked me and another young woman to join the team with him, serving as admin and support for that particular group. So it has grown in the last, like I said, year. We just celebrated the 1 year anniversary of the group. Over 5,000 individuals, and we just recently launched a um, what would we call it? I guess a more intentional community for the
Mhm.
group called Black People Parenting or BPP Circle, where there will be more intentional content in services and workshops. Black People Parenting also just became a 501(c), so it is a nonprofit now where
Mhm.
I serve on the board for that. And that was really important to me. And it's funny how things work and the universe kind of answers your prayers when you didn't even say it out loud.
Mhm.
But I wanted to somehow connect to the Black parenting community. When I was doing Black Girl Mentor, I wanted to find a way to um, connect with other parents, Black women
Mhm.
parents. And then this opportunity kind of presented itself because it was really important to me. I know that Black parenthood looks very different for everyone. And sometimes what's put out there in the magazines and the TV shows doesn't always tell our stories or isn't
Sure.
nuanced to our experiences. So I'm really glad to be a part of this group. So if you're on Facebook, join it. And you can also join Black People BPP circle as well for that more intentional content. But for you, friend, in terms of advice, oh,
Sure.
there's so much. I will say this honestly. My aunt told me this when I was pregnant with my daughter, and she said, you know, you're going to get a lot of advice um, coming your way, but you do not have to take all that advice, right? Like
Sure.
information is just that, you know, and especially with raising kids, there's a lot of unsolicited advice. But you know, do what you and your partner feel is best. You know, people are gonna sling, you know, ting your way. There's tons of books and whatever, but do what you feel is right in your heart for you and your family and your child. Every child is different, and just because your parents may have raised you a certain way or your family does things a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it that way for your own child. So um, that can be the hard, you know, sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
but ultimately, you know, you have to make the choice that makes the most sense for your life and your family. So that would be my gem as a parent is do what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense to me, and I appreciate that. And thanks for all you do for all the Black parents out there, because we need the help and the support and the greater community. So I appreciate you, being a part of bringing that together. So we're gonna let you get out of here, but I do want to give you an opportunity to let people know about any special offers or promotions that you have going on, and then also where they can find you on social media or how best to they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So, my offer, I will say, as it pertains to Black people, excuse me, not Black people, parents, as it pertains to noir coaching and consulting, is that if you go to my website, which is noircoaching.com, and click the button to book a discovery call, if you mention Friday Fire, then you book with me, I'm happy to take $25 off of the session fee, which is currently $75. So that means a $50 session fee with me. So if you just mention Friday Fire, we can make that happen. But in terms of finding me, I am all over. So again, the website is noircoaching.com, NOIRE coaching.com. And then that is also Noir Coaching on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. So I'm gonna put Instagram, Facebook, and also on LinkedIn. And then also with Black Girl Mentor, the same on all platforms, Black Girl Mentor.
Excellent. Well, Tiff, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of
This is
course.
a great way to end off a Friday. Always good to see you, to chat with you,
Yes.
and super excited about all your success.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's it, everybody. We'll see you back next week. Have a blessed Friday weekend. We'll see you soon on the other side. Y'all take care.
Bye.